guys, Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here. And today I'm going to show you how to create a cute beach pendant using polymer clay. Now, to start off with, I'm going to be making a faux metal border for the piece. And so for that, you're going to need a piece of white polymer clay rolled out to about 2mm thick. And I'm going to be working on a ceramic tile. Now I'm just going to burnish that out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some circle cutters to cut out a border. Now before I actually do that, I want to just go over something. For the centerpiece of the pendant, I'm going to be using this little starfish mold. You can use something different, but whatever you're using, that is going to be the inside of the circle. So I've got a cutter that fits that inside of it, and then you're going to want one larger size so that you can cut out a rim. And this can go smaller or larger depending on what you want to be the center, but you need to have decided that before moving on to this step. Okay, now that we've got that, I've got the two cutters off to the side. I'm also going to bring over some gold metal leaf, and you can use any colour metal leaf you want. I'm trying to imitate gold today, so that's why I'm using it, but feel free to use any colour metal leaf you want. If you want to use something like gold mica powder or gold paint, you can. I find that the metal leaf has the more convincing effect. Okay, once you've got that, then grab your inner circle and you're going to cut that out first. Press down. Okay, and lift up, and then grab your circle for the outside and position it so that it's in the middle, and cut again, like so. Okay, and I'm going to use this metal leafed clay for other projects. If you didn't want to use that much metal leaf, you could always cut it out and then apply the metal leaf if you wanted to, but I wanted to get the kind of crackle effect, and I find that it's a little finicky to apply it afterwards, but you most certainly could if you wanted to. And just remove that center without touching the outer border. Okay, and then I'm going to take the extra leaf that I had around the outside, and I'm going to rip that up, and I'm going to apply it like so, so that the edges are also covered. And get a nice double layer of metal leaf. And I'm going to use a brush to get that really stuck down in a minute, so don't worry about it being completely flush with the clay, just get it generally covered. You want it to look as coated in gold as possible. And also I'm using white because I don't want the background colour of the clay to show up too much if there are cracks in the gold. If you wanted to go for an antique gold effect, you could use black polymer clay. But just be aware of the colour of clay that you're using, because that will make a difference in the end piece. Okay, and then I'm going to take the biggest brush I can find, and I'm just going to use that to remove a lot of the extra leaf around the edges, while also kind of getting the rest of it to stick as much as possible. And this is why I'm working on a tile, because the clay will stay in place while you're doing this. There's not a risk of it distorting if you aren't too rough with the piece. So just do what I'm doing here, then blow away the extra leaf, and then you're going to bake that for about half an hour to cure the clay, and then when that's done we can start making the actual pendant. Okay, Now, the metal leaf is not sticking as well as I would like it to around the edges, so I want to show you a quick tip if that happens. If you have some Varathane water-based gloss varnish, you can actually take that and cover the whole piece in a very thin layer of it, grabbing the metal leaf and brushing it on using that varnish, because Varathane can be baked in the oven. It's perfectly okay to do so. And at the same time it will also seal in that metal leaf, so you'll be getting kind of 2 steps done at once. So that's a quick little trick if the leaf is giving you a bit of trouble, because I want to have it coat the edges in such a way that it is convincingly metal. But yeah, so that's something to give a try if you are having trouble. Okay, and while it's in the oven, I'm going to make the little starfish pendant. And I'm going to be using souffle clay today. You can use any brand of clay you want. I'm just using souffle today because I like the soft suede finish that it has. Now what I've got here is Robin's Egg Blue, Lagoon Blue, and let me just see this one. And then this kind of mocha colour. That's what it's called anyway, it's called mocha. And I'm going to take those 3 colours and I'm going to chop that all up finely, like so. And there we go. Then just mix that all together so that the colours are evenly distributed. Okay, and pop that together and give it a squish so that it becomes one ball of clay again. Okay, and then take that and just roll it out to reduce it down, and I'm going to roll it out quite a bit. Okay. And then I'm going to cut that in half because I want the speckles to be really small. I'm going to take that and press that so it's the same size, and then cut that in half again, press it together like so, cut in 3 and press them together again, and this is just to reduce down and distort all of those little speckles. Okay, and then just give that a final press together so that it all becomes one solid piece of clay again. And you don't need to worry about any distortion during this because that's encouraged, if anything. Okay, gonna cut that in half, see how it looks. And there we go, that's what I'm looking for, kind of this really almost poppy seed like effect. And I'm gonna bring over the starfish that I've got here. And this is a little bit of a tricky mold because it's quite small and there's a lot of open space. So I'm going to show you how I prefer to fill these kinds of molds out. What I'll do is I'll take the clay that I want to use and I'll cut it slightly to the shape of the mold, because the less you have to shave away when it comes to your mold, the better. So I've just got that in streaks. Split that up. Does not need to be the exact shape, you just want it to be round about the same shape. And also it will mean that the pattern is a little closer and will kind of move with the shape of the mold. You could just take a slice and press it in and then slice your extra clay away. That could absolutely work, but I prefer shaping the clay a little bit to the shape of the mold. I will take a baby wipe, any kind of rag to prevent sticking to my fingers, and I will press that into the mould thoroughly, sticking all those pieces together and picking up all the details. Lift that up, and if it's a translucent mould, you can check if there are any air bubbles. There aren't. Okay, and then you're going to slice. And this is a little tricky because it's a shallow mould. So I will slice each arm of the starfish and then proceed to cut the rest away. And that way the clay stays in the mould, because I find that if you don't do it like that and you're not a little careful, the clay lifts away from the mould, and that can be quite frustrating. So that's a way to prevent that from happening. And once you get to this point, you can then go in and really clean away the extra clay and just clean it out like so, until you don't have any more of these little bits around the edge. You want it to be nice and clean. And also you can see there how the pattern is going along with the shape of the mould. And there we go. Then once you're happy with that, if your clay's a little warm, you can always pop it into the freezer to firm it up if it's giving you trouble lifting out of the mould, but otherwise it should come straight out like so. Then you might need to just go and tap a little bit to get rid of any fluff around the edges, but in general it should be pretty clean. Okay, I'm just checking if there's any spots. There's this one spot that I missed here. You can just use your blade to just tuck that back in. But there we go, that's the little starfish. I'll pop that to the side for use later. Okay, and here is how it looks out of the oven. Now you might have some uneven edges. If that's the case, then just use a craft knife to just kind of scrape it off, because it will most likely just be bits of metal leaf left over. Like there's a little bit over there. You can even use your nail more often than not to get rid of the extra bits. But that's ready to go, and it should be flexible, so don't be surprised if it kind of bends out of shape a little bit. It should bounce straight back. And for the pendant, I'm going to be using ivory souffle, and it's this nice yellow colour, which is kind of like sand in my opinion. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this little sponge, and you can use sandpaper instead, but anything with kind of a sandy texture, and just roll that over the clay and it will give you a fine texture. So anything that looks sand-like to you. There we go. Then grab your little starfish from earlier. Just bear with me for one moment. I grab that. There we go. Here we go. Just grab that and apply it onto the surface gently, and just arrange it around so that it's positioned the way that you want it, and then lightly tap down. Not enough to squish the texture, just enough to get it stuck to the clay. Okay, and I've just transferred it onto a piece of paper, and for the next step you're going to grab your little gold border and you're going to position that so that the starfish is right in the middle, and then grab a block and just press down. And I'm actually not going to use the block because I just realized that I'll probably end up squishing the starfish's top, so I'll actually just press using my fingers. Okay, and actually I could use the block, but just around the very edge so that I'm not touching the starfish. Okay, because I want that to almost cut through the clay so that it's nice and level. And I'm going to just press this back down because that domed a little. You can just lightly press that. Okay. Then grab your circle cutter, or you can trim around it with a craft knife, that works too. But just grab something and cut it out. And I'm going to give it a little spin to release it, and that will remove the outside as well. And there you go, you've got yourself a nice little starfish medallion. Okay, then you're going to take that mould and you're going to bake that for a full hour at Primo's recommended temperature. Then once it's baked, you can varnish it if you want to. However, this metal leaf has been sealed in already, so if you don't want to varnish it, you don't have to. Important thing though, just bake it for an hour. Okay. And here's how it should look out of the oven. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned before, but when I textured the sand backing, I did also texture the back so that we had a double-sided texture. But basically at this point, you're all good to go. And so I'm going to grab a drill. And I'm going to choose the top of my pendant, which is going to be about here. And I'm going to drill between the border and the inside, so that I drill on that seam. And just drill straight through that, clean it out by going through a couple of times. There we go. And the hole shouldn't be too visible, especially if you're using a small drill bit. Okay. Then I'm going to grab a jump ring and I'm going to try to use a small one first. Or the smallest one anyway. Open that up. Pop that through. And it should go through. There we go. Okay. Then close that jump ring, making sure those ends meet. And then I like to take the open side and I will loop that back inside the hole so that it's a solid loop. Okay, then pop that to the side. That's going to get used in a little bit. For now, I'm going to bring over what we're going to use to string it. And for that, I've got 2 white hemp cords and 1 small piece of gold chain. And I've assembled the first side, which is using a cord end for the 2 pieces of cord, and then attaching a jump ring and then linking the chain to that and attaching the clasp. And I'll show you how to do that on the other side, but I've already done that. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to link that to just something to hang it off of to the side so that I've got something to pull against while I plait it, which is what I plan to do. So I'm just going to grab those. And let me just move you up so you can see. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to grab those and I'm going to start a loose plait, like so. Okay. And you're just going to do that the whole way up the length. And every once in a while, you're going to have to go and unknot the tail end. Okay, and then once you've got that to the length that you want it, then you're going to just keep a hold of everything because you don't want it to undo. and just grab a cord end, and that is how it should look. And you're going to attach that to the 2 cord pieces, so just take those and pop them on the inside of that cord end, and just try to keep hold of everything while you're doing this. Okay. And then close those little prongs over the cord. And all of these findings I get from Fire Mountain Gems and Beads. If you are looking for them, I get the cord, the chain, the cord ends, and everything from there. So I highly recommend checking that out if you're looking for these kinds of beading supplies. Okay, then I'm just going to lay that down carefully, not to disrupt it too much. I'm going to grab a jump ring, the same size that I used on the other side. Open that up, and then I'm going to take this and give it a little pull to straighten everything out. And then I'm going to link the jump ring and the hole of that cord end and the clasp, and close that up. And only once I've done that will I go and trim away the extra pieces. Okay, and the first thing I'll do is the cord. Just grab a nice small pair of scissors and just trim that up. Okay, and then with the chain, just find the second link from the one that is attached to the jump ring. Grab it and trim. There we go. And there we go. But only do that once you've got everything linked together. It's a lot more forgiving that way. Then just link those 2 together and find the middle of your piece. Okay, just about there. And I'm going to grab this and I'm going to actually bring that loop back out again. I shouldn't have twisted it until I'd finished the necklace, but that's not a problem. Open that up. And then link that cord and chain around. And I actually am going to swap this jump ring out for one slightly larger because I'm going to struggle to fit that all together and have it have a lot of movement still. There we go. It should fit through comfortably. Then just close that up, and at that point you can then move the open part of the jump ring in to sit in the hole of your piece. And there we go. That should move comfortably. And there we go. That is pretty much it for the project. You don't need to do anything with this because the metal leaf was sealed already with the varathane varnish. If you decided not to apply the metal leaf using the varnish, then before attaching it to the piece, you would want to go over and varnish it. But yeah, it looks quite cute, doesn't it? Just a nice all-around beach project. So yeah, if you enjoyed the tutorial, please do let me know in the comments below. If you would like to support the channel so that I can continue creating videos just like this one, please do consider checking out my Etsy store where I sell things like cutters and the mold that I used in today's video. There's a bunch of other polymer clay related tools over there, so please do consider checking that out. And if you have any questions about the tutorial, leave them below and I will answer those as soon as possible. And again, thank you for watching the tutorial. If you liked it, please consider leaving a like. It helps the algorithm out and helps more than you know. And as always, I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now.